Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2025 film VHS Halloween, and this is directed by, well, lots of different people. And that's kind of what I like about this anthology series. It gives directors, or upcoming directors should I say, a platform to showcase what talent they do have just by doing these little mini horror segments. And it is all found footage, but I suppose that's the low budget way of doing this, so they can crank them out every year, and a simplistic way of showing your directional talents really. And VHS as a franchise is not one I have seen all of the entries in. I mean, I only started watching this about 4 or 5 years ago, so that's what you could say I've seen the past 4 or 5 entries, especially when Shudder's been cranking them out each year. But what I do like about this series of films is, because it's an anthology series, there's a lot of different variety out there, and each story brings something new. So it's kind of a series that can just go on and on every year until, well, I don't know about the end of time, but quite a while, to be honest. So I'm all up for these coming out every year, coming to Shudder, and hearing the early buzz around Fantastic Fest and stuff, and just getting to watch them like a week or two later. So as soon as this came out, I jumped right on it, especially with last year, VHS Beyond being my absolute favourite entry into the franchise. And I gotta say, this definitely carries its title in its heart. VHS Halloween, the theme of Halloween is imprinted on every single story here. Now, I heard a few people from Fantastic Fest saying that it doesn't really incorporate the holiday of Halloween in some of the stories, but I couldn't disagree with that more. I think every single one of them did. It contained people dressed up in costumes, people trick-or-treating, all taking place on Halloween night. So I don't know where that negativity kind of came from, or, that complaint about the movie, because I thought each one of them did contain the spirit of Halloween. And it's one of them where you could actually watch this on Halloween night and feel right in the mood for that day of the year. So I was all happy with that on that front, and I'm kind of glad that they stuck to that for each story, because even my favourite last year, VHS Beyond, didn't stick to the whole sci-fi horror element. I mean, there was people dressing up as dogs in one of them stories, so I had no idea what that had to do with VHS Beyond, but I'm happy to say that in this one, they stuck to the theme. And I gotta say, the whole handheld camera thing going on here feels very justified with the characters who are filming what is going on. Now, a lot of hardcore found footage subgenre fans will say that, oh, you just got to forget that. It's a found footage movie. Of course, they're going to be holding the camera. But I watched The Man with the Black Umbrella the other day, and even though I really liked that film, I was taken out of it sometimes when the guy was just picking the camera up and putting it down in life or death situations. And I just thought the last thing I'd do was be picking this camera up now. But I suppose you have got to try and forget that when you're watching a found footage movie. I get it. But I really like how they justified it here anyway. There is one story where this kid says, look, I've got to film what's going on because we're trapped in here. I don't see a way out. And if we die, I want everyone to know what happened. So he's kind of overcome the fear a little bit and just keeps on filming. So at least he's tried to sort of get it across to the viewer why he is justified in holding this camera. Also, there was a segment where it's an FBI video, so you can understand why the police or the FBI guy is filming everything there, what's going on, because they need the footage for the investigation. And there was another one where these two girls were in a haunted house, and they had a camera on the light. So it really, all the stories kind of felt justified as to why people were holding the camera there, and it just immersed you more into the found footage story elements there and made you go along for the ride even more. And I'm going to say this movie absolutely fly by. The pacing was on point, just because I think it's feeding you different stories here and there, and you're turning your attention to something else and trying to get invested in that. It just made the time go nowhere. So happy to say that this movie never ever feels like a drag, even if some segments are worse than others. Now, each one of these VHS movies has a wraparound segment where actually, when we see each story, we'll break it up into like a 2-minute segment of a story that is carrying on throughout the movie. Now, this one contains lots of test subjects in a laboratory trying to test this new fizzy drink that's come out. And each of these subjects are reacting to this drink differently and having violent and outrageous episodes. And I never ever really like the wraparound story. I never feel like it's justified, or it just feels like it's there to break up the story. And even though it kind of is, I thought these were the most interesting wraparound that we've had, because I just loved watching the reactions of these people drinking this soda and then just sort of vomiting violently, or just looking like they were possessed or whatever. It was always fun to see. I just want to get onto each of the stories now here. It's kind of weird reviewing an anthology series because you're talking about so many different stories. But I'm going to say the third segment of this film was by far the best, and one of my favourite VHS entries ever out of all the ones I've seen, where we see these group of friends trick-or-treating, and they come across this weird candy that's left outside the house, and it says, "Take one only." If you take more than one, you are kind of sucked in to this bucket of sweets, and you are turned into candy yourself. So I just thought that was a real awesome one. But when we go into this little weird place, there's people running around sort of chasing them who look like sweets and candy themselves. I just thought that was a real awesome episode, and there was a real message in there of don't be too greedy and you are what you eat, basically. So that one had a little bit of a meaning there. It was definitely the most fun part of this entire film. And if you are here for gore and practical effects, you will probably enjoy the fifth segment the most. Now, I gotta say, it was really impressive to look at, because what was happening on screen with the effects and everything was awesome, I thought. This is all about this guy who makes a haunted attraction in his street for the neighborhood to come and visit. But something goes wrong in there that night, and lots of people are killed, including children. Yes, there's a lot of kids dying in this segment, so if that's not your sort of thing, you may want to skip this one. But yeah, I thought this was a really fun one. Unfortunately, it did feel like a lot of random stuff was happening at times, but still one of the best segments in this entire film. Now, I'm kind of mixed on my third favourite segment, which was actually the first one, where these two girls who are trick-or-treating and causing a little mayhem in the street there, robbing everyone's candy and stuff like that. They go into this house and it is actually haunted. But what I really liked about this is the build-up about to the first, to the halfway point of this segment. It felt really creepy. My favourite shot in the entire of VHS Halloween, where they knock on the door and this hand with a basket sort of comes out of the shadows and says, "Gucci goo," and then just pulls its arm back inside the house to lead them in to this place. And I thought, I was really creeped out there. Unfortunately, that soon wears off, because this just feels like a haunted house attraction that you may go to every October in your hometown or something, where scare actors are chasing you around. So it the novelty kind of wore off there, but real strong first half of that segment. The second half was okay. I was just taken out of it a little bit. Now, there was two stories that really didn't work for me here, which is a shame, because last year's VHS Beyond had 4 out of the 5 stories that I loved. Here, I would say I only really loved one of them and really liked one of the others. But the second segment here was probably the most uninteresting, although I really appreciate how they filmed this one. So basically, this is the FBI sort of investigation one I was talking about, which involves this cursed phone. And it jumps back to the actual murders that night on Halloween, and then jumps forward to all these officers going through the whole location with this one survivor, and they think he's killed everyone, basically. So we jump back and forth, every couple of minutes to what's happening on the night and what's happening in this investigation, and the investigation starts to become cursed as well. But I just felt like the ending kind of fell flat. It was, I wouldn't say I disliked it. It was just one of the weakest ones of this VHS Halloween movie, should I say. And the fourth segment was definitely the weakest, one of my weakest entries in the whole of VHS history. This is about this killer who's killing kids in this village. And yeah, I just thought the editing ruined this entire segment. I mean, it was very, very choppy. It kind of jumped in the story a little bit. And I was like, okay, I have to catch up. What's going on here? And the whole reveal and stuff, yeah, just didn't really work for me, that one, guys. I didn't enjoy that one whatsoever. Probably my least favourite directed one, and definitely the one with the worst editing, but some people may enjoy it. I don't know, maybe that's, like, I heard a lot of people say they really liked Kate Siegel's entry into VHS Beyond last year, and that was the only one I didn't like. So, everyone's different there, but definitely the weakest for me, the fourth entry. And unfortunately, even though I really liked the wraparound, I didn't feel like it had a cohesive conclusion there. I was waiting for one more segment after the final story, because that's what usually happens. But no, we didn't. I was like, oh, we're not going back to the wraparound here? Yeah, it kind of just felt like it didn't end very well, that one. Which is a shame, because I did like these breakups of the wraparound story. Okay, guys, ultimately I was disappointed with VHS Halloween. I mean, like I said, only a couple of stories I liked here. There's usually more than two that I really, really did like. But yeah, I would say there's only two solid ones here. And I've heard a lot of people say that this is the strongest VHS out there up to now. So yeah, it's just my opinion, guys. But this one, nowhere near as good as last year's entry. But it's still worth a watch if you like this franchise. I would definitely say give it a go, especially more to the latter end of October, because, it all takes place on Halloween. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give VHS Halloween a 5.5 out of 10. Oh well, maybe next year they can pick it up a little bit more there, but like I said, not against these coming out every year. Always something different on the table. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. If you want more 2025 horror movie reviews, I'll leave them in the link down below, along with my review of VHS Beyond. Please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It really helped me out. Thanks so much, guys. You all take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.